I'm back with the case for the resurrection of Jesus by Gary Habermas and Mike Licona. I have some excellent news at the end of the video that's got me really excited. You'll want to hang on to hear that. But today we're going to go into chapter 2. The part is entitled History 101. It's about, as I said, this book here, and we're just going to dive right in. Okay, let's go. Multiple independent resources strengthen the validity of the event, i.e., if one witness tells a police officer what happened, that is more credible than telling one person who tells another person who tells another person. The third person tells the police officer. It's not the same. I'm sure that's easier for you guys to get on. If you've ever watched any police show or legal drama, you'll know about hearsay being less admissible than eyewitness testimony. So a testimony by someone that has nothing to do with the outcome of the event is also a strengthening point for your argument. So if someone's in a collision and they're a passenger in the car, and they have something to gain by saying, "Oh, the other person's at fault," their testimony is going to have less weight because they have a friend driving, or there could be an insurance claim, something like that. A non-biased bystander's testimony would be more validly weighed than someone who's actually got something to gain from the circumstance. As I mentioned before, Jewish historian Flavius Josephus, obviously a Jew, not going to be on the side of a Christian Messiah. Tacitus is a respected Roman historian. He is not going to want to hurt his reputation as a historian, right? Pliny was a Roman governor that supported, or that reported about Christians being organized. The Babylonian Talmud, as I said, they reported on Christ and his followers, and even though they saw it in a negative light. But also there was a Roman historian, Suetonius, also that reported the resurrection, and Jesus, a Greek satirist, Lucian of Samosata, and he reported that as well. So there's also the argument of embarrassment. Now let me see if I can explain this, because it took me a while to kind of figure out what I had to read through some things and chat GPT it and the whole. But the argument is this. So two women find the empty grave. Now, if you're trying to create a story in this time period, women, their opinion is seen as half of what a man's opinion is, roughly. So if you're using two women, then their storytelling would be only one person, and then you can kind of break that down. So if you're wanting to validate your argument, you're going to use the strongest case that you have to say, look, this man saw it, because you want to present this man as God. You want to strengthen your argument. It's just like when Jesus died on the cross. We dealt with that a little bit previously, and you're not going to have your conquering, your blessed God as being crucified and humbled, exposed on a cross before two common criminals in the public square to be mocked and spat on. You don't want that as someone that you look up to as your God, right? Okay, so eye testimony is stronger than secondhand accounts, as I mentioned before. Now, Paul, the Apostle Paul, wrote most of the New Testament, and he actually he knew some of the disciples that saw Jesus. Actually, Paul was Saul before he became Paul, and he was one of the biggest persecutors of Christians. And I'm sure it impacted him in the way that he saw the way that they were willingly had their lives sacrificed because they weren't going to change their mind about what they believed Jesus to be, what they had seen. And Paul also had an encounter when Saul had an encounter on the road to Damascus, which that's written in the Bible as well. So as I said, yeah, he was the biggest prosecutor of the early Christian church. Now, the last point also overlaps some of the other points that I've made here, and you can look them up for yourself. Please buy this book, The Case for the Resurrection of Jesus. It's fantastic. I can't wait to get into it every day. It's amazing. So the last point, Corinthians 15:6, Paul says, Jesus appeared to 500 people at one time, most of which are still alive. So you can say, yeah, it's in the Bible. But Paul says, look, 500 people, he appeared to more than 500 people at once, most of whom are still alive. So if you don't believe me, that's fine. That's okay. Go and ask them. Go ask them what they saw. And they will validate what I have written here. Now, let me just tell you, folks, the author of this book, Gary Habermas, I am in contact with him, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we're putting some together that he will come on this channel in the new year, and I'm just waiting on that final date that we can actually nail something down and get the interview together. I'm excited about that. That is going to be awesome, especially after I've devoured this book a couple of times. Okay, so please, buy this book. It's great. Gary's got lots of stuff out, which are fantastic. Gary's dad was one of my profs at Liberty University when I went there back in the early 90s, 1,000 years ago. So, so I'm looking forward to that. Please, again, like I said, get the book. See you again next time.